Good afternoon, everybody. Back for another episode of Fine Things Refreshed, episode number 17. Listening to a little bit of feeding the ducks this afternoon. Actually reminds me of sitting on the inn porch watching the ducks in the morning.
Me too. That's what I was thinking about.
I appreciate y'all tuning in for, like I said, another episode. Today we're going to talk a little bit about FineThings, or I should say a company philosophy, curiosity and what that means to us. We're going to touch on storytelling for brands. This is a topic that's super relevant in my brain right now because we just had a speaking event on this topic. And then we'll wrap up with another FineThings shout out. So Mom, why don't you kick us off? Let's talk a little bit about curiosity and what that means to us at Yazoo.
Well, I mean, it's just one of our company values. And so I think curiosity is a great thing for any company to have as a value. And it really just means that to us, it means a lot of things, curiosity. But to us, it means, continuing to learn, not getting stagnant in terms of you can't in marketing. So that's like the one thing that we know. And so like right now, for example, I'm doing research on tools like a tool called Ground Truth, which is like basically like geo-focused mobile messaging, mobile ads, not the same as, so there's like mobile ads and there's texting and text funnels, but this is like what's out there. Like, so we have to stay super curious into what's out there and what tools are working and not working right now. So curiosity is a company value for innovation, right? And for learning and knowledge, but curiosity is also a value for building rapport and for getting to know your customers and for getting to know your consultants and your employees and your partners. So curiosity is also about not being stuck just in your own world and just focused on what you think, but being curious about how others feel and think. So for us, I think that's why it's a company value for all those reasons. It's for marketing itself, staying curious about what's going on in the world of marketing. It's curiosity as a company value because of constant education and wanting to learn and grow. And then curiosity is a company value for building rapport with others. Be curious about the people around you. Be curious about them and want to learn about them. So,
and I think I would add that, there's also a curiosity piece to being curious about your own work. Is the message really right? Is the report saying what you think it's saying? Playing a little bit of like being devil's advocate, being curious about what if we tried something differently. Right. And I think that's really important because and you get stuck, like to your point, you get stuck thinking about your work and you have, your perspective on that work. And oftentimes it's good to be curious about how someone else digests it. So if you guys are doing work, I think it's great once you get to an end product or at a point where you're ready to potentially launch, share it with someone who's not been involved with it so closely. See if they can digest it and receive it the same way that you're hoping that someone digests it and receive it. Be curious about what they think, because ultimately that's really what's most important, right? Are they receiving it and engaging the way that you're hoping? So curiosity is it's awesome. I think it keeps us on the pulse, and it's really, really important. So that's what curiosity means to us here at Yazoo. And let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about
I think
it is. Oh my gosh, yeah. Curiosity is absolutely a fine thing, not just in marketing, but also in life. Be curious about life. And I think that's really, really important, something to hold on to. Marketing topic of the day, storytelling. I am super passionate about storytelling. For those of you that were at our workshop or my speaking event earlier this week, probably can tell that I've been around storytelling for quite some time. I didn't really necessarily realize that, I guess, at first. But storytelling is truly impactful. It's not necessarily something that's new. I mean, we all tell stories in life, but when we talk about storytelling, it allows you to really create a connection and simplify a message that's otherwise maybe a little bit too complex. Using anecdotes, using metaphors allows you to really establish a connection with your audience, see what they're saying, and see if they understand the message that you're trying to get across. Storytelling is a huge point to create not just that connection, communicate a message, but it also makes your brand more memorable. When you use stories, it allows you to create sort of something around your brand that someone will remember long after the interaction that they had with your brand. They'll remember that story, just like you oftentimes will remember a story about something, maybe not exactly what had happened or who that was with, but you'll remember a story and ultimately you'll put pieces back together. But the most important piece is that story establishes that connection. It makes the brand memorable and it gives them a reason to go back to the product or your brand or your service or your idea. Um, so I guess let's just talk a little bit about that. The way that we can do storytelling. It seems, maybe really kind of ridiculous when you talk about it. If you're trying to think about it from like a B2B perspective, a business to business, how are you storytelling? Well, you can do storytelling on social media. You can do storytelling through a case study. You can do, storytelling through a video, through a podcast. You can tell stories on a landing page. Do you understand how folks are searching for you? I mean, that's something that we really will go back to a lot of times when we ask folks when we do our first introduction and discovery meetings. Do you understand who your audience is, and do you understand how they're really searching for you, or why they're searching for you?
Mhm.
Can you use those keywords to tell a story?
Yep.
Ultimately, will help you be found digitally online when folks are searching for you. So I think, there's a lot of different ways to tell a story. And that's oftentimes where folks are like, what do you mean storytelling? How am I going to tell a story? Well, stories can be conveyed a lot of different ways. And are you doing it externally? Are you doing it internally? I mean, when you have a cultural value, is that instilled in your employees, and how do you instill it in employees? How do
Yep.
you share, stories about your business with your employees? I mean, that's really, really important as well. It's not just external storytelling, but there's that internal piece.
And the curiosity thing really goes with storytelling, because if you're curious about your clients and customers, you're going to get stories. If you're not curious about them and you don't ask questions and it's a transactional thing, you're not going to get the stories. So one of the things I almost raised my hand during your workshop, but I thought you would kill me, so I didn't. Because like I had read this thing about how in retail and restaurants and like places that deal with the public, how they're using like computers, but it's like on a stand, like it's not really a computer, but it is a computer, but like it almost looks like you're checking out, just like how when you go to a restaurant now you can give information, where people can just give like anecdotal things, and it's a way that they're capturing content. And I just think that's the coolest thing, like to think about what could you have in your office, or it doesn't even have to be B2B, it could be B2C too. Like what do you have that allows you to capture content, stories while they're live? Like it's almost like a live version of what you teach about Eli with like having the Google Doc. I'm having a mind blank on the name for it, but
Story bank.
A story bank. So it's like this is like a story bank on steroids.
Yes, and it's a way to continue to build your story bank. And when we talk about a story bank, I guess for the folks that don't understand or know what a story bank is, it is a living, breathing, working document that really will allow you to capture, collect, and curate your stories of your business that come from different stakeholders, whether that's, your customers, to Angie's, point, whether you're collecting that online or you're collecting that in person, you're collecting it in the store. Those are customer stories, right? Who's that audience? That would be for your customer. But there's also employee stories. How do your employees talk about your business internally? Have you thought about that? What is the sentiment behind some of those things? How do your partners talk about your business? Are they talking about your business in the right way? If you're in a partnership, you'd want to make sure that they're echoing your brand message very well, and usually that should be done through a story. So do they understand that? There's a lot of different ways you can capture those stories. So I think, for that B2C example, that's a fantastic way to do that, is to be able to have something maybe at your POS system, your point of sale, or your checkout, or when they're leaving. Is there a way to capture that feedback right then and there? Because oftentimes that's the most important time to capture the feedback. It's either when they're digesting, utilizing, or consuming your product, service, or idea, or right thereafter, because their sentiments are usually very fresh, right? You want that understanding of why they did it, how they digested it, how they received it, because ultimately that's probably the secret sauce, that message right there that's behind that or underneath that really will probably play out really well in social and will relate to other folks, hopefully creating a deeper connection to your brand. So storytelling is really, really important in a number of different ways. And it's easy to get confused and it's easy to get lost and hard to get started sometimes when you tell folks, can you get started with storytelling? So oftentimes what we recommend is going backwards, starting at the end. Who is the audience digesting your story? Do you understand that audience truly? I mean, and again, this goes back to the curiosity piece. Be curious about your audience, right? Curious if they really are receiving it the right way. I mean, you understand what problems they may have, what positive attributes are they're correlating to your business, what negative attributes, or what do they already say or do or know about your business. Those are all pieces in which build the audience profile that allow you to select the right story and use it at the right time, knowing you have the right audience, right?
Yep.
So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways too when we talk about storytelling with a business is really developing your audience profile. I mean, this is something that we we talk about all the time. It's personas. That's another way you hear it. Not just your audience profile, but your audience persona. You may have multiple, and you may have multiple messages that match up with each audience. So I think that's also really important. And it's good to understand that not every story is right for every time and every platform. So it's being curious, understanding who your audience is, and then taking some time to develop some stories or think about stories maybe that you already have that you can utilize and share externally. Um, the other takeaway would be utilize a story bank. Create a living, breathing, working document that outlines what the story is. You can use keywords. Why would you tell it? Who might find it useful? So you know who that audience piece is. Who have you already told that story to? If you know this story already and you know it's out there, who have you told it to? It might give you some insight into that audience piece, right? Is it up to date? And then my favorite piece is really, is there a music that can help drive the story or align with the story? Oftentimes when you use a story and you tie music to it, there's a deeper connection. Just like when you go and you purchase things at a certain store, H&M's music may be totally different than the music that you hear at Yankee Candle, for example. Those are just two different experiences and they want you to feel differently when you go into those stores because it creates that connection, right? So there's different ways to tell stories and there's different ways to utilize stories. And there's different ways to combine assets together and repurpose stories in different, functions and forms. So you're interested in storytelling. Obviously, you can tell we're passionate about it. So I would, suggest that you reach out to us. Let us know where you're at in your business, and if you have questions around storytelling or even how to get started, drop us a note, drop us a comment. Check us out online and shoot us a little message on our contact us form. But we would love to continue that conversation because obviously storytelling is not new, but it is extremely important and it will stay relevant for the foreseeable future.
Well,
So let's wrap up today's episode with a FineThings shout out. I know there's one that's probably near and dear to our hearts. It's a family business, part of sort of the Yazoo, I would say the Yazoo umbrella, right? But Mom, let's go ahead and give that a shout out. It's up to you.
so we'll do a fresh coat painting, and it's actually a painting company and solely painting. So for the most part, some little odd jobs maybe that go around with that painting job that you're doing, but it's almost 100% painting. And what separates a fresh coat from maybe other painting companies is it is literally focused on doing quality work. So everything from helping you pick your paint colors, to what's like, if you're just doing one room, how does that impact the other rooms that are around that? Is there a flow? And you're going to get a really quality job. So not the cheapest painter out there, but certainly not the most expensive, but really quality. Because the belief is that paint is like something that can completely transform a space in a home, and that it needs to be done right, and that people do notice if a paint job is done well. So,
and I would say it's not just residential, right? There's also the commercial side. So it's both commercial and residential painting.
Yep. And some outside painting. So we'll actually put the information in, but basically, it's like, what am I trying to say here? Outside, yes, we will do outside, or he will do outside. I'm saying we because it's my husband.
Exteriors or interiors?
It's in the family, like Eli said. But he will do outside, but again, we really focus in on specific things, so he knows what he is going to be good at outside to give you a great job, and we'll turn down a job if it's just not in the scope of work. So he's not going up on 4-story buildings and painting the outside of a 4-story apartment building. So, but garage, exterior spaces, outdoor furniture we've done, just wrapped up doing a cabinet kitchen, complete redo, and wow, is that a transformation when you do your cabinet. So again, focus on quality is quality. Quality is the company philosophy value for Fresh Coat Painting and Design.
I love that. And the cabinet piece,
I would have to echo that. We actually were just watching, what was it, Unsellable Homes last night on HGTV, and that was one of the huge topics of discussion was cabinets and cabinet color, and how the cabinet color and a fresh paint on cabinets can really transform a kitchen. So I think that's a hot topic as well. So if you guys are really interested, as Angie mentioned, she is a Fresh Coat, dropped in the comments. So take a look at their Facebook page if you guys have questions, or if you're interested in connecting with a Fresh Coat, you can always go through us as well to make that connection happen. Residential, commercial, exterior, interior. If you guys are looking for a paint project, or if you have a paint project on the horizon and you just want an opinion and maybe a quote, let us know. We'd love to make that happen. So that's today's episode of FineThings Refreshed. We talked a lot about curiosity, what that means to us here at Yazza, what it means in marketing, and of course, how it applies to life. That transitioned us into storytelling and what that means, storytelling for a brand, storytelling for a business, how you can utilize that by creating a story bank, identifying your audience profile. So if you have questions around storytelling, let us know. We'd love to dive in and have a discovery conversation with you. And if you're looking for a paint project, a Fresh Coat is the place to go. So we appreciate y'all tuning in for another episode. It's been a pleasure to get back in here. Stay tuned. We'll probably be back for another episode shortly thereafter the 4th of July holiday. So we wish y'all a happy 4th, and have
happy
a wonderful
4th,
summer.
everyone.
we appreciate
Stay curious.
Stay curious and dive on in with us for the next episode. Bye, everybody.